Write down the 3 keyboard shortcuts for changing highlighted text to bold, italic or underline. So for 3 marks, so it looks as if there's one for each. Pause the video, write down your answers. So keyboard shortcuts usually involve Control, Control B, Control I and Control U for bold, italic and underline. Other ones are Control and C, but they've not asked for that, that's copy. Control V is paste and Control A is select all, copy all, select all. Describe 3 SMART targets you set for a website project. So SMART is an acronym. It's S-M-A-R-T. The letters S-M-A-R-T stand for 5 different targets that you've got to know about, and then you've got to apply them to the website project. Write down your answer, pause the video. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and time limited. If you ask for 3 SMART targets, I think specific and measurable and limited are your 3 easiest to talk about. For a website project, it doesn't really matter if you've set up a website project or not, they're not to know. So specific means maybe you're going to have 6 web pages or 5 or 4 or 10 or 15, it doesn't really matter, but you know how many web pages you're going to have, specifically know how many web pages. Maybe measurable is something that you can time or measure. So the load time of each of the pages may be less than a minute. A minute seems to be a long time. I'd suggest slightly less than that, but it doesn't really matter. On an average internet connection, so not the fastest, not the slowest, maybe a reasonable one. And then the next one is time limited. How long are you going to spend on it? You could put a term or a week or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever you want. The other things are attainable. How are you going to do it? How are you going to get the software? Maybe you'll say that you're going to use free open source software for your web project, something like Wix.com or something like that. Relevant means that you're actually going to not make something that's not going to be of no use. So maybe you research your audience, find out what they want, and then maybe you gain some feedback. So there would be 2 other marks. Why do you need to sign an acceptable use policy when you start a new school? You've signed one of these in year 7, maybe you don't remember, but you have. 2 marks. Pause the video, write down your answer. So that staff and students know what's acceptable when you're using the internet. So say for example, I don't know, that you don't play on games, or you go on websites that are acceptable and linked to education. Maybe you follow the school rules for working when you're using the computer and doing something that's going to lead towards results. Your English teacher has asked you to use IT to create a CV, a curriculum vitae. Describe 3 ways in which IT makes the document more professional. 3 marks. Pause the video, write down your answer. Well, first of all, you can redraft it, so correct things like spelling mistakes. So you use spell checkers to flag up words that are incorrectly spelt, so it's going to be spelt correctly. Editing and formatting tools, that means that you can set things out in boxes or maybe in a certain way on the page to make them look good. And you can actually use templates as well. A template, it'll lay it out, and then all you've got to do is edit the text and change it to suit your needs. School wants to buy some software for the school, but you're concerned the product will create a lock-in. A lock-in means that once you've purchased the software, they almost have you then for life. In that it's very, very difficult to remove that software and to move to something else. Facebook would say that they've got a big lock-in of the market because it's difficult for everybody, and they feel as if they've got everybody locked in, and people won't move away from Facebook to other forms of social media. Pause the video, write down your answer. How would you explain it? The school doesn't understand it. How you would explain it? That's the question for 2 marks. Pause the video, write down your answer. So as I said, it's difficult to change the supplier. They've got you locked in. They're providing a software solution for the school, and it's difficult for the school to change. That would lead to higher prices, so they could put their prices up, and you're still locked into it. Lack of choice, so you've got to choose what they provide you. You can't go elsewhere because you're locked into the software that they provide. The following code is an update script for a content management system. So a content management system might be something like a website builder or something like that, Wix.com. And there's a piece of code in there. If you see a set of numbers like that, you either know or you don't what it means. Pause the video, write down your answer. Oh, actually, it's asking for what line 5 as well. So they're both the same kind of format. What does that format mean? It's a date format. So it's 2005, 03 is March, and 16th. So it's the 16th of March 2005. It's the date, year, month and day. What does that mean? That means that it's a comment. So that means that it's actually not going to run that file, it's not going to run that line. That just means that the user can write in some comments, a little bit of a note. So it's a comment and won't be run as the code. What is happening in lines 9 to 10? Drop and add. They're your keywords. Pause the video, write down your answer. 1 mark. It's deleting something. Drop means delete and add means add something to it. Two advantages and disadvantages in cloud-based document management system. Cloud-based advantages and 2 disadvantages, 4 marks. So this is where it's saving all your information to a remote server, like Facebook saves it to a server in Los Angeles, certainly somewhere off-site, could be anywhere in the world. You might never find out where your work is being saved. Pause the video, write down your answer. So you can use it from off-site, so you can remote in. So you could remote in just like an app on a phone. You can remote in at any point, so you can use any device anywhere as long as you've got an internet connection, and you can carry on working not just in school on the computers. You can remote in and use that software anywhere you want, and it's saved to a server. Just like, say for example, you can use Facebook on any device anywhere where there's an internet connection. You don't have to be in a particular location. It's maintained by somebody else, so you don't worry about Facebook and who's maintaining it. There's a team of staff run by Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg will employ the staff to run Facebook, and you don't need to worry about it. It'll also be updated as well automatically. That might be another advantage. Disadvantages. You can't use it if you've not got an internet connection, so you need an internet connection. And internet access is costly, so it's going to cost you to use an internet connection. So every time you use Facebook, then it costs you for that data. 27. Your school requires a strong password to prevent others damaging your computer. Write down a suitably strong password for 3 marks. There's 3 things it should have in there. Pause the video, write down your answer. So it's got to have 8 characters in it, so it's got to have 8 different letters or symbols in total in it, at least 8, it can have more than 8. It should have uppercase and lowercase, so some capitals and some lowercase, some numbers and some symbols, maybe an exclamation mark or something like that, or maybe a hashtag. 28. There's a law called the copyright law, and the copyright law stops you stealing somebody else's ideas, whether that be text, whether it be writing, whether it be music, whether it be video. Do you think that's fair, giving 2 reasons, 2 marks? Pause the video, write down your answer. Stealing a car or properties stops somebody doing something, but stealing music or words stops them from being paid. So that's your answer. Compare it to a car, stops someone doing something, but stealing music stops someone from earning a living because it stops them being paid for it. So if they're a music artist or an author of a book, if you steal their book, they don't get any royalties, they don't get paid for it. 29. The following is from the Microsoft End User License Agreement. You decide you're going to load this software, Windows, an operating system, onto your aunt and cousin's machine using your disk that you've bought, as it's easier. Explain if you think the license allows or disallows that for 3 marks. Pause your video, write down your answer. First of all, it's illegal because it says 1 copy of the software on your device. So by putting it onto your aunt and cousin's machine, you're breaking copyright law. So you've broken the terms of the license because you're only allowed to install it once. So there's 2 marks for that. Loading it onto other machines is breaking the law, is not allowed. So to say it only goes on your device only once, and loading it onto other machines breaks the copyright law, breaks the end user license agreement, gets you all 3 marks. You've been elected as student governor in your school. The governors are considering new software for the school, and they know that you use open source software, freely available, written by the community, by people like you and I. They ask why the school should consider open source software. Explain to the governors 3 reasons why you should change to open source software for 3 marks. Remember, open source software written by the community, maybe free, maybe easily updated, that kind of thing. Pause the video, write down your answer. So saving money on software licenses is your obvious one. Upgrade, something like an app that you use. You might have some free apps there, upgraded free of charge. And so is things like Facebook. So think about, when you're talking about open software, get your mind into the fact that Facebook, apps, things like that are open source software, or freely, sort of quite often freely available via the internet. Administration costs, so things like maintenance costs are also quite often free of charge. Updates free of charge for admin costs or maintenance costs, and cost saving on software licenses. Additional one, you don't get locked into one company, so open source software is free, so you can change quite easily. You're not paying out a lot of money and then are locked into that with a license fee. Video games often require a GPU. What's it stand for and what's it do for 2 marks? It stands for Graphics Processing Unit, and it speeds up the rendering, the drawing of images, and takes the processing, that's the sort of calculations and the data processing to work out how those videos are going to be uploaded to the screen away from the computer, so it will speed up the rendering. Finally, 32, what is PHP and why is it important for use of the internet? For 3 marks. Pause your video, write down your answer. It's a programming language used to write websites. It can use a back-end database, so it allows Facebook uses this, so you write a message or post a message and it saves to a database, and then that uploads that message onto your screen. It allows websites to gather data. We know that with the current issues with Facebook gathering your data, and it makes them interactive. That means you can make posts to the website.